Thank you. Thank you all for sticking around this afternoon after lunch. It's great content. So I am thrilled to be joined here by my lovely panelists. And before we jump into all the content, I will do a quick round robin, run down the line if you guys want to give a quick intro and a little bit about your roles. Start with you, Darren.
Hey everyone, Darren Brady Harris, and I'm a strategic planning lead in the global brand marketing department at Salesforce.
Good afternoon, Yvette Ellis, Enterprise Marketing Leader at Deloitte.
Great. My name is Kate Rogers, Global Brand Media Director at GE Healthcare.
Fantastic. So before we get into the full panel, you're going to see a slide that Jan very kindly gave a nice sneak peek of earlier, so thank you. But I always like to define effectiveness, because a lot of times, especially in the US, when you first hear effectiveness, you might think media effectiveness and your ROIs on your media, right? But we at Work define effectiveness as, have you met the objectives that you set at the beginning of the campaign? So whether it was lead generation or whether it was your strategic asset, and your brand, or is it brand building, market share? So what is it that you're actually doing in your strategy of your campaign, and are you achieving that at the output? So we're looking at it holistically, not just at the media effectiveness. And you'll see here another screenshot of the ladder that we put together in partnership with the B2B Institute and Lions as a way to actually kind of measure how effective your work is within the B2B space. And we know already from research that Work has done and many others that creativity offers a competitive advantage. This is a report from McKinsey a couple years ago, but they dove into an analysis that proves that those brands that are excelling in creativity and that are winning awards when it comes to creativity are having their key financial results. So whether that's either stock or just overall sales are increasing. So it's really, we know that creativity drives your business forward. There's more research that shows, this is from Peter Field, who's a kind of a thought leader in the effectiveness world, that also shows, again, that creativity drives effectiveness. Those campaigns that are more awarded more creative prizes at different festivals around the globe, we are seeing that they're driving stronger business results. So there's a clear correlation between creativity and driving business forward. And I am thrilled to dive into that with the panel here, because we've got 3 brands who have invested a lot in creativity. And I'm going to start with Yvette. We're going to talk a bit about Deloitte, because Brand Finance earlier today, who kicked us off, has named you guys as the most valuable brand in the globe. So that is pretty impressive when it comes to B2B especially. So can you talk to us a little bit about the journey of Deloitte? How did you guys get to that point where you are now the most valuable B2B brand?
I mean, quite a setup there. And thank you, David, for the honor, and certainly thank you, Tom, for also helping to initiate this whole new B2B brand finance report. So yes, happy to get into the discussion. Certainly want to talk a little bit about some of the lessons learned. But before that, I thought it might be helpful to actually see a very recent spot that we launched just last week. It was during the WNBA semifinals, and so again, shout out to IAA for the timing of this, otherwise we wouldn't be able to do this now. But we're really proud to continue to stand for women, right? We've made a lot of great progress, I think, just across the board. Certainly a lot more room to go. And one of the things that we have been continued to committed to at Deloitte is really inclusion, right? And how do we do that in a very authentic way? We also think that there's clearly an opportunity to continue to build upon kind of that shared agenda in conjunction with our clients, our alliance partners. And so with all of that, we kicked off our Girls Who Play Make Women Who Lead. So with that, let's just take a quick look at the 30-second spot.
There she is, Jade Ross, best CTO in the game.
Her cyber defense is fire.
Yeah, but Emily Foster? Corporate finance queen of Kansas City?
Wait, hold up. Is that
Lucy Carter? See? Oh, man, she just looked right at me. I love you, Lucy! You're such a great Q4. Can we take a selfie, please?
Where'd you get that photo?
Your LinkedIn profile.
Obviously.
So I love that. I love that, and I will just a quick plug. You should definitely go to our YouTube, because there are a couple of other spots I really debated about which one to show. You'll see one in there's a cute little setup, and it's talking about like you should never go all that deep on marketing. When of course one of our celebrities chose kind of 3 of CMOs for their particular fantasy drawing. But anyway, you should definitely go to Deloitte.com to check out the other spots. So again, kind of how did we get here? What's the journey been like? Again, we are 178 years now into our origin story. I think everyone knows we were always known as an accounting firm, right? And we realized very early on, as we continue to kind of stay in the consulting business when some of our competitors decided to kind of separate and walk a different walk, that there is an opportunity, right? If we could really get our clients to see that we are also in the advisory business, that certainly helps to unlock kind of new opportunities. And so we've spent a lot of money, millions of dollars, on building brand, on the fact that we are also in the advisory business as well. So that's just a little bit about the story. There's a lot more that, of course, goes into all of that, but we don't have until dinner. So I'll just pause there for now.
I mean, I think it shows a great commitment, though, to brand, that you guys have been investing in that. And, and it's a big transition, moving from the perception of being an accounting firm to now all-inclusive advisory and all the services that you guys have. And we'll dive into a little bit more of how you navigate that. But kind of to flip the script a little, Kate is representing a brand that is not 170 years old, although it has some legacy to it that is that old. But GE Healthcare is really a brand new brand. You guys are pretty fresh off the printing press, if you will. So talk to me a bit about how has it been the journey as you guys have gone from kind of splitting from GE and the division that within GE and to building a brand in the past 2-3 years.
Yeah, thank you. So we did have a bit of a luxury, right? Most people wish that they could just walk out of a spinoff with a legacy brand like GE. But it also came with its unique set of challenges. And the fact that a lot of people do not know that GE also makes healthcare equipment, and that is our bread and butter. We've been doing that for almost 100 years, but it's a brand challenge that's unique to us, and we did a lot of research. From our existing audiences, but also new audiences that we had to speak to post-spinoff to really understand where we were sitting, and we were largely undifferentiated. So it was an opportunity to look at the white space, both against our direct competitors and our brand competitors, and see how we could really play in that space. What it led to was a brand identity that was very different than what you'll see in the market today when it comes to technology. We intentionally are trying to move from that industrial manufacturing to a healthcare company, right? And healthcare is changing. How do we show that we're with them in that journey instead of, we just make the equipment, pass it off, good luck. So it's been a really fun journey. It's been one that was deeply rooted in data, but has then taken a really human turn that I think our employees and our customers have really shown us in the results that they're interested, right? And it's something that resonates with them. So it's been a fun ride.
We're going to see some of that creative in a little bit as well. And one thing that I think you guys have both done with your brands really well is that human element and kind of that, the testament to the people but behind the products and services and such as well. And when we think about Salesforce, in some ways, you don't always, think about kind of, CRM being the most fun tool. I know a lot of us have probably used different ones, and we all love them. But but I used to work at Salesforce, so I'm allowed to say that. No, but I think you guys have done a great job of putting fun and creativity at the heart of your brand.
Yeah, granted, low bar in the category, right, for fun, but I think we've done our job. The thing is, it just came from the DNA of the company from the very beginning. The very first ad over 20 years ago, before I worked at the company, the headline of the ad was "Die Software Die." So. Fun, irreverent, poking at convention, and that's true to the company, and that came from the founders. Over the years, especially as we were going through explosive growth and getting more into the enterprise, the fun withered away, frankly. It became less fun. And that was one of 2 or 3 things that converged that I'll talk about is it just became very conventional and very much like the rest of the category. Equally, if not more important, we realized we had an awareness problem as well. when you think Salesforce, a lot of people think, okay, sales, where do you go from there? A lack of understanding of what the company does. So we saw a big gap between aided and unaided awareness. And in thinking about that, thinking about the fun, where are we going to go from there? And it's not just a simple, okay, spend more, although David showed great slides that I appreciated that showed the effect of spending more and spending it smartly. But along with that, we had to have the right strategy, and that's where situational awareness and mental availability came into play. Really to make sure we are meeting all of our prospects where they are, covering as many buying situations as possible. So that's what we'll see in the video when we show that.
Yeah, we can go ahead and show that
Okay.
video.
Hopefully you don't get bored. It is a little over 2 minutes long. It's an epic compared to some of the other videos, but this gives you a look at where we have taken the brand subsequent to everything I just described, the challenges. And I think you'll see it's pretty distinctive for B2B, certainly for CRM, but let me know what you think.
It's a great video.
Thank you.
good
So
video.
I talked about the challenges we were faced with. The fun disappeared. There was this awareness issue. We were also conscious of, I forget which presentation mentioned it, but that Bain study that showed BDMs, business decision makers, when they're looking for software, they go into that decision-making process, 2/3 of them with a brand in mind. By the end of it, 90% of them pick a brand that was in that set to begin with. So we could not have people understand who we are and what we do. So that's all the sort of strategic and structural pressure. As far as the fun and the memorability to pop out of all of that, to distinguish ourselves, that's where the creative comes into play. This is about creative effectiveness. So everything you saw in there reflects the creativity that infuses everything we do, every single touch point. So it's not just creative as an execution, but creative that infuses the entire company. So I don't know if you can see the tower from here, but you're all welcome to pop over to the Salesforce Tower after. You'll see the creative there as soon as you go through the doors. On the website, we showed an F1 race down at the paddock It's all there, everything. And then we enable all of the creatives and all of the agencies around the world to work with this system. I want to call out the character that you saw there at the end, like every CRM company has a character, right? Is key to that. That was the breakthrough when the head of global brand marketing, Colin Fleming, years ago said, we're going to take a risk. So one of the big takeaways, I think, from our story is the risk. And we're going to use this character. And the character existed already for our online training platform, Trailhead. So that risk is something, I think, that distinguishes the move that we made. So we knew, everybody knows, if you have an awareness problem, you have to deal with it. If you're not investing enough, ideally you spend more. There's nothing in a rule book that says, and then you need a non-binary raccoon dog character with no mouth, right? So what we did know from research is that it was kind of polarizing in a really great way. That there were people that loved that character, loved that approach, and there were some that were going, where did that come from? And we stuck with it. We continue to invest. So the other takeaway is to stick with what you've got, and it's really worked. We were number 36 on Interbrand's brand rankings last year, number 5 for B2B. The number 36 was up 22 places over the past 2 years prior to that. So something's working. That's a new brand right there.
That's great. I love that you guys talk about risk. We talked a lot about that in our prep call as well. So I'd love to hear from Yvette and Kate a little bit about kind of risk and how you guys are using creativity to tackle the mental availability and stand out from your competitors as well.
I'll start. I mean, I think risk is such an important part of being creative, especially for a company who is very comfortable with doing the same thing over and over again, right? Like, I joked when we started the rebrand, I could write you a GE campaign in 15 minutes. Like, you just know exactly what needs to go in it, how it's going to look and feel, which is the testimony of a great brand. But when you want to be differentiated, it takes a lot of risk in going outside of what people have been comfortable for 50 plus years with. I will tell you, I got a ton of pushback every step of the way. The further that we took it, probably the more pushback that we got. And I think we landed in a really, really great space, but it was all guided by knowing the market, knowing the customers, and kind of showing people maybe what isn't obvious to them. And I think this experimentation too, like a little bit of experimenting, earning the right, kind of saying, the market is telling us that this is the right motion. How can we really build on that and make it something that sticks with the brand long term? So we took that in strides and had a little testing year before so that we could take it and apply it to the rebrand. So yeah, it's been a fun journey. Yeah.
Fun when it works out, right?
Yeah. It's fun on the other side. Yeah. Don't ask me a year ago, it was probably not as fun. So yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know we use the word risk, and I feel like that comes automatically with like a negative connotation, right? And so I just always think that's interesting just as an observation. And I would also say that we need to continue to kind of, as brand experts, if you will, right, continue to push the needle and continue to really lean upon our leaders to not see risk as such a negative thing, right? Like, we can try things, we can pivot, we can be agile, like we know these things, right? So one, which thankfully paid off, but one risk that comes to mind that I know that we took just last fall, I mean, wow, talk about a sales pitch that was required. So we worked with Maximum Effort to create a spot during not the season, but the series finale of The Walking Dead. I don't know if any of you are big Walking Dead fans in here. I was not. Oh, well, you are? Okay, good. Did you see our commercial? No. So during... Oh, okay. Well, then, so you couldn't stay up then. Okay, so during the series finale, we did a spot where, and again, the whole premise of The Walking Dead, right? We did a whole zombie commercial. Because if you can also think back just to November timeframe of last year, like, the market was really, really competitive when it comes to talent, right? And it was really, really hard to get people to see your brand, feel like, oh, that's kind of a cool, interesting brand. I feel like there's something that I could do there. I feel like those are my people. We did a whole spot where we hired an actress to kind of come on screen talk about, how it is that we were going to be going out and, fresh meat, right, and going after these new recruits to become a part of our firm. When we first pitched this internally to our executives, they looked at us like, are you serious? Like, this is never going to work. This is very, again, counter to our brand. But with a lot of convincing and a lot of faith and confidence in the team in place, they said, we do think that this actually has legs. I think that we should go for it. And it has paid off in spades. We got so much positive attention and traffic to our websites. Without question, right? There's always going to be the negative feedback, right? So what are you saying? Are you saying that coming to work for Deloitte is going to be like working with a bunch of zombies, right? But it provided us an opportunity to really engage in a very culturally relevant way, right? Again, humanizing the brand, continuing to show that we are a place where even as a 20-something, you can come and you can have a really long career. So again, risk that paid off was well worth it in the end, but come on, in the moment, right? You're like, oh my gosh, this might be my last day here. So, but it all worked out well, and here I am, so it was great.
Yes, glad it all worked out, yes. Didn't all turn into zombies there. I think one thing that you brought up that I think is really interesting that often can get lost as we talk about B2B brand marketing, and we think so much about selling our products and our services, but it's about selling our recruitment too. It's about bringing in the talent and getting folks to want to come work for you. And I think so thinking about it in that way as well of how you guys were trying to target the next generation of folks who maybe even not only purchase your services but also come work for you is I think a big thing that often we can lean into as marketers in this category as well. I'm going to jump back to Kate for a second because I want to give an opportunity to kind of show some of the great content that you guys have put out in the last year. Because one of the other things that was mentioned earlier today is making the shift from talking about your products and your features and functionality to really talking about the emotion and the value of the human element. At the end of the day, you use the phrase, you said we're a business to people, right? So that's, not B2B, but B2P is what Darren uses at Salesforce. And so I want to talk a little bit about the creative that went behind the work that Kate did at GE on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were famous for techs and specs. That's what we called it. So really, we could tell you anything about all of our technology, and we were really into it, very passionate about it. As you can see on one side of the screen, that's exactly what we knew how to do, but as a new company, we had to take a totally different approach to it. And really what it came down to is we talk about risk, and we also, as a company, talk about innovation all the time, right? That's supposed to be one of our core foundational values. Well, who are we to not innovate ourselves, right? And our brand and bring forward the innovators and the people behind our industry. So that's exactly what our campaign aimed to do. It was really to turn the spotlight onto our customers, our people who are creating these technologies, and the people that are doing heroic work every day to help us fulfill our purpose. So I think it was really, it was a shift for sure. It was definitely an adaptation that people had to get comfortable with. But what we have seen is really, really positive brand lift that has come from it. And what I loved about the Salesforce video was that, it's not just the brand fluffy stuff, right? We can really bring it down into the products. We can bring it down into recruitment. And show how we're going to show up as a new company. And I think the fact that care is the first word in all of these phrases and a lot of the creative shows that we're not going to just be an industrial. We really do, we want to be in the healthcare space, and we're here to stay.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that. Do you want to talk through the risk you guys took on this campaign a little? Yeah, so I'll be fast on this. But essentially, this is one of those campaigns that someone pitches you and, you're like, I don't know what they're going to think. But this was for Nurses Week back in May. And the concept behind this was, nurses and healthcare workers in general put in a lot of work and care that you don't see. So our goal was to actually quantify this. The hours of care that they've provided throughout their career, use them as heroes, essentially, in our own special gallery. And then each brushstroke here represents an hour of care that they've given throughout their career. So you'll see that some of them are less finished, some of them are more finished.
what really on the human side, so this obviously is a very creative concept, really fun to work on, but we found that we could actually tell a lot of stories out of this. So these people were nurses because their son had been in the NICU, or they went through cancer themselves very recently and were using our own technology. So something that started as like one creative idea, we were able to pull a lot of threads on and create over 60 assets and really create a multi-month campaign from something that was just supposed to be one moment in time. So yeah, it was really fun.
That's great. That leads right into kind of where I want to bring the conversation next and talk a little bit about is the emotion. We know from a lot of research, right, that the biggest lever that you can pull from a creative standpoint in effective work is emotion, right? Whether it's sentimental, whether it's humor, whatever that is. And that's a testament. That's also not just B2C, that's also in the B2B world as well. And so you have to remember that we are selling to people. So can you talk a little bit, Darren, we'll kick off with you, kind of how do you guys bring that emotion in, and how important is that to Salesforce?
It's critical. For instance, we just had Dreamforce a few weeks ago in San Francisco, which is a massive convention in San Francisco. We always call that our annual family reunion. So that familial feel is very sincere and a big part of the company. So everything I showed you, that comes from fun. That's playing off that sense of fun, that spiritedness. There's emotion that comes with that. We don't use it like a sledgehammer. There's some stories that are not fun, some that are more values driven. Tom wrote about our Team Earthwork, I think earlier this year. I've got some of my partners who've worked on that with me. That was all values driven, and it had a little bit of a sense of fun working with our brand advisor Matthew McConaughey, but it was also really critical. It's about what moves the company, and we're not playing it for laughs. There's a few little jokes in there, but it's very real. It's important to all of our employees, so that the sense of values is a huge draw for all of us that work there. And it's important for our customers too. We know from research that our team has done that when prospects, that sounds very impersonal, when people are looking for a new software company, that a values alignment is really important too. So we don't want to be shy about any of that.
Do you have anything you want to add on that from your side?
Yeah, no, so the only other thing that I was just going to say is that, I love the B2B and I love the B2P. I know that we at Deloitte also talk a little bit about the B2B to C, right? So we spend a lot of time really trying to understand just the heart of our customers, right? And we know that it is advantageous for us to do so because at the end of the day, that's all that our clients care about, right? So as we talk to them about like customer service, and this is what it should be, and this is how you should do it, and this is what it will bring you, that can't be done in a very academic way, right? We actually have to know the actual customer. So even though, yes, without question, B2B on fire, per the signage outside, right? Like we also still have to be in the business of actually knowing the end users. And so I think the only way in which you can do that is to truly be on the ground and invest in data and insights, right? So that way you really do understand again exactly those key learnings, takeaways, insights to be able to still bring that back in a very authentic and human way, even just in the B2B space.
I think it's great. Yeah, you can't forget about those end users, those end customers beyond the ones who are just buying the services. Absolutely. And so conscious of the time and stuff, but I want to think about thinking ahead to 2024 a bit. And we know we've talked a lot about how creativity, we know it drives your business. You guys have it ingrained in the culture of your businesses, which I think is super important. And that sounds like it stems from the top down for all of you guys. What is the biggest challenge going into next year for you guys that's top of mind in terms of, is it convincing the CFO to continue to invest in brand? What is, or is it, a new campaign or something, but what are you guys concerned about or really keeping you up at night about thinking into next year?
Yeah, I'll go first because we were just all talking about this. So really for us, it's how do we continue to get buy-in to keep telling that story, right? Brand is all about consistency. We spun off last year, so it's very easy to think, well, it's done, right? We did it, we spent the money, we're all good, we'll do one in like 10 years or something. And really showing that value of long-term, multi-year brand planning. So I think that's kind of going to be our next story and talking point that we're telling internally.
I think for us, again, and there was a slide, I can't remember the presentation, but there was a slide that said essentially marketing can do all things, right? But you have to figure out like where you place your bets. I think that we continue to invest, right? And a lot of really cool and interesting things. Everyone's talking about generative AI, right? I think everyone's still trying to figure out exactly what that means to their individual brands. Obviously, purpose DEI, that is a pillar that is key. That is something that we're never going to back off of. Our CEO, Jason Grisadas, is very committed to that. So certainly just in the market, and in messaging, you will continue to see a lot about just who we are as a purpose-driven organization. But internally, I think, again, from a marketing perspective, it's always thinking about how to certainly keep up the great momentum that we have while still kind of pursuing that next frontier.
I think we deserve some sort of award for not mentioning AI until almost the very end of the panel.
Had to do it.
Yeah, but now it's all I'm thinking about. So, no, I'm also glad there's only a few seconds to talk about what keeps me up at night. Well, I was talking about the interbrand rankings. The new ones will be out soon, so hopefully we keep ascending. Otherwise, I'll be back here next year for the panel on creative ineffectiveness. How about that?
No.
I'll just leave it at that.
I do want to leave room for a couple questions. So first, I want to thank you guys, first of all, for very much for sharing and sharing the creative as well. But is there any questions in the audience for our wonderful panelists here?
I noticed that you guys spun off GE healthcare. I'm talking about. You guys spun off with other divisions of GE. You kept the GE brand. Others did not. Just love to know some of the thinking that went into that.
Yeah, so that's a great question. The last two businesses will spin off next year. So, but two of the brands actually decided to rename. So everyone kept the GE, what we call the meatball, so the monogram and the two letters. But we intentionally did a lot of brand testing on our name specifically to see what the aided and unaided awareness was, and it was strong enough that we thought we were actually running a lot of risk by changing it, because in healthcare specifically, trust and reliability is so important. So we figured, maybe energy has a little bit more space to play there. I don't know about aerospace, but they're rebranding for the future, and for us that was a way to kind of show that we're committed to the industry. But yeah, a lot of research, a lot of metadata analysis, and that was a lot of long discussions about the name and the color purple. So yes, but we got there. The meatball.
I love the meatball.
Yeah. You'll never not see it now. So yeah.
Great, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, and thank you for having us.
Awesome job.